This is the Millcreek Government Channel. I'm Judy Zelina. Today we're welcoming on our program the Executive Director of Erie Dawn. This organization is Dwellings and Advocacy for Women in Need. And the Executive Director is Maureen Dunn. She's joining us today. Thank you so much, Maureen.
Oh, thank you, Judy. It's always lovely to be here. Thank you.
I know. You've been on the program before,
Yes.
but there's always some new things happening. We want to update our viewers on what you've got in the works.
Well, it's good to stay fresh and relevant and get the message out again. So any opportunity I have to do that, it's wonderful.
Well, I'm glad I could. First off, maybe some of our viewers are not familiar with Erie Dawn. Can you give us a little bit about who you are?
Sure. Actually, we are just into our 20th year. We've just kicked off our 20th year. We're a program that was started 20 years ago, and it was the first real collaborative venture with the Sisters of St. Joseph, the Sisters of Mercy, and the Benedictine Sisters in Erie. They saw a need out there for women that were going through transition, women that were coming from shelters, and basically it could have been any kind of a life situation that put a woman in a situation with or without children where she didn't think she was going to be, and her housing was jeopardized and they had no place to go. So they came together, and that's when Erie Dawn was established. And the concept behind it is basically, you know, how do you get your life back in order if at the end of the day you're not sure where you're going to be living, where you're going to put your head at night? So how can you fix other situations in your life or build yourself back? So housing is such a critical component to the healing process and moving forward. So it's a unique program in that there's unique relationship with landlords. Ours is not a facility. We're not a housing facility. We work with landlords, and then the women are actually in their own independent apartments. And the idea behind that is they're really that last step before self-sufficiency. And then we work with local landlords, get the women into their apartments. The women can pay whatever is a fair amount for them to pay. We're also we rely on donors to kind of fill in that gap a little bit. And then we're also very reliant on our landlords, you know, that we've had a relationship with, most of them for many years. And so that's kind of the concept behind it is, you know, getting the women into housing and then wrapping them with all the supports they need with the ultimate goal of self-sufficiency.
And Maureen, like you said, these are situations perhaps many of these women never in a million years thought they were going to be in. Losing a job, you know, divorce. Never did they think that they were going to have needs like this. So it's wonderful that you're here to...
Well, and I think sometimes people have kind of a misunderstanding or misconception rather of, you know, if someone is homeless or they're in a situation like that, it's because they're not trying hard enough. And, you know, like you said, it could be one paycheck away, or someone is in a divorce, everything was in the husband's name, they have no place to go, medical bills. We had one woman that came to our program, she ran a county agency in a different county, ended up being divorced, medical bills, and just had no place to go. And so the whole idea is working with us to build them back up to, you know, whatever their potential is again.
Okay. You've been doing, Erie Dawn's been around for 20 years. How have things changed in the last 20 years, Maureen? Well,
it's kind of one of those questions. They've changed a lot, but then they've stayed the same because it's almost, we're seeing a lot of the same situations. What's really hard for us is the fact that the disparity with, you know, living wage jobs, the rents have gone up, so it's harder and harder for us to find apartments, and it's more challenging for the women to be able to save their money to move on. It used to be, when the program first started, the ultimate goal was home ownership. Now our ultimate goal is if we can get the women stabilized and even in paying market rent rates for rent in apartments. So we're also finding that they're dealing with a lot more issues and a lot more, and we're seeing a lot of younger people come to our program as well too.
Really?
Mm-hmm. We get calls every day, and You know, sometimes we make an exception when we can. We have 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 21, 22, 23, and then we have some women in their 60s that come to us too. So it's almost, it's really an individualized program. When people come to us, we sit down and say, okay, you know, what's going on, where have you been, what's happening, and how can we help you? So, and we don't want to spend a lot of time looking back because that doesn't solve anything. It's going forward. All right, what are your goals? You know, what do you want to accomplish for yourself? Where would you like to see yourself 3 months, 6 months, 5 years from now?
Right.
And then we really put in an individual plan. We work with them on an individual plan to get them where they need to be.
And again, some of the situations that would have brought women to you, again, like you said, a lot of people think, oh, they're just not working hard enough. So again, not only divorce or job loss, what else could bring a woman to have a need for your program?
Sometimes it can just be a medical issue,
Okay.
medical bills, and then they couldn't pay their rent, they lost their apartment. And most of the women, when they come to us, they are working, but many times with, you know, a single mom, in most cases it's single moms, and, you know, they are working and they're struggling and they're doing the best they can, but it's just so challenging, you know, as a single mom to be able to maintain a household and then be there for your children. And so that's the challenge as well too. So one of the first things we do is we kind of evaluate where they are with their jobs, and then we work with an awful lot of local agencies, different hospitals, nursing homes, and we go to them, and then we find out if there's positions available so that the women can get in and be in an organization or work with a company that has room for growth. So we want to move them up the ladder with their pay just to help with the everyday bills.
Okay. Now, coming to your program, do they have to be working?
They do have to be working. As we said, like if you were to look at the continuum of services in the community, you have your emergency shelters where people have to go to, again, for all different types of reasons there as well too. And, you know, then you have people that would be in, let's say like an organization where you could be living there, but you don't have to be working full-time. But with ours, you have to at least show, because the whole idea when they come to us, and it's also part of our outcomes that we need to show for our HUD funding, is that the women are moving along, they're increasing their pay, they're getting better jobs, so they're moving on to self-sufficiency. So if they come into our program and there isn't any movement, then we're not doing our job as well too. So one of the first things we want to do is we work with them on resumes and job skills, and, you know, kind of help them with those job skills, get them connected to CareerLink or any agency or organization that is out there doing job training. We will actually go with them to those that are working part-time and going to school. We go and we meet with their advisors at their schools with them, you know, just to make sure that they're on track, and then how can we make their goals our goals as well too, and then we'll know exactly what we need to do to support them. So a big part of what we do is also kind of that advocacy, which is in our name, advocacy, because that's a big part of it. You know, the housing is one thing, you know, to get them in an apartment and make sure they're safe, and they're furnished apartments, by the way. And, you know, so that's the first step, but it's everything else that you have to wrap them in whatever services they need to kind of get them moving along.
How does a woman hear about your services? Are they referred to you?
All different ways. We are out there, our entire staff is out all the time interacting with other agencies, organizations, and, you know, we're on every kind of committee we can, just so we're learning too what's out there, so when someone comes to us we can make the best referral, and it kind of works, you know, the other way as well too, because we are well known in the different agencies, counseling agencies, hospitals know about us, you know, a lot of the different counselors know about us, so we're very connected as a staff to other agencies and organizations. So a lot of our referrals from there, our website, word of mouth, women that have been in the program. So everyone that comes to us comes from a different referral source as well too.
So there's really not just one way that someone hears about you.
No, which is good, because you don't have to have just one port of entry to come to us. It can be, you know, just any kind of referral. And then, but that works both ways. You know, then we want to know what all the agencies and services and programs that are out there, so that when someone comes to us, we'll know exactly that will optimize our time in helping them too, to know what the best referrals are for them.
And that is nice, really working with all the different agencies that we have here in Erie County, because I know if someone comes to my office and has a concern and wants to know where to turn, I'll sort of listen to the situation and I'll direct them to one organization and say, now if they aren't going to be the fit for you, they will be able to connect you with someone who can help you.
That's invaluable. That
and
is
it
really
is,
invaluable.
and you guys really mesh and work well together.
We do, and we have a wonderful reputation. We have a history, and but we're learning every day too about new program or a service or some kind of a subsidy that the women can get. So that's really important. That's really important.
It is very important
because our staff, we have a small staff, and we can't be all things. We're not the drug and alcohol counselor. We're not the housing expert. We're not all those types of things. So, but to know the experts that are, that's invaluable for us to make those connections.
Now, what kind of housing do you provide for these women?
They have lovely apartments. The women are all in their own apartments. They're all scattered sites throughout the community. We want, our main goal is safe and affordable. And we also, when we go to look at an apartment, and a landlord may offer us an apartment, but we also have to make sure that it is safe. Many times we need something that's on a bus line. We also want to make sure that they're insulated properly, so that the women don't get in and have outrageous, utility bills and things like that. So it's just like if you were going to go out and rent your own apartment, and then, we go with the women. We usually vet them ahead of time, and we pick out the apartments. So then when the women come to us, it's not like we have a whole inventory of apartments. So it's almost, if you were to come to us and say, okay, I really need to be in your program, we'd interview you, we'd meet with you, we'd get paperwork done. And then if we thought you were going to be a good fit for our program, then we would kind of go out and start to kind of find an apartment so that it would all come together at the same time.
Is it easy to find these apartments?
It isn't. It's challenging. And again, one of the challenges is the fact when we say safe and affordable, and the landlords that are renting apartments, it's a business for them too, and their costs are going up. So they have a certain amount that they need to charge. So we're very fortunate that the apartments that we do work with and the landlords we work with have really, they appreciate the fact of working with us, because in a way we're kind of like the property managers. We do home inspections, we make sure the rent gets paid on time, so they appreciate that. So many times they'll give us a bit of a break, but still one of the limiting factors in how many people we can have into our program is finances, because you can only afford to help so many people at one time, and then there's that gap in the middle for the difference for what the landlord is charging, what the woman can pay. There's still a gap, and then we have donors for what we call rent assistance that help with that. So that, again, which ties to funding. So the more funding you have, the more people you can help with, and it's just kind of that circular problem and situation. So that's, and then we furnish our apartments. We get a lot of donations for the furniture and appliances and every household item. So it's almost, and everything is provided for them: sheets, towels, toasters, everything. And again, that comes from the donation and the kindness of others that help supply those for us as well too. So we've been very fortunate with that.
I have a question. What if I'm in this program and you set me up an apartment, everything's going good, I'm working, an emergency comes up that I have to pay for, and I'm not going to be able to make my rent?
Well, that's where we're in constant communication with the women. We have, sometimes we start off with weekly meetings with them, and we want them to tell us everything that's going on. So if that were to come up and they're in communication with us, we would help them with that.
So you would be aware of
it
and see the situation?
Yes, and we would, in a situation like that, and things happen, that's life.
It is life.
And the reason that the women come to us is because they don't have that safety net of a family. So we really become that for them. You or I, if an emergency came up, probably in 1 second you could pick a
family.
10 people that you could go to ask for help, or your car breaks down, or a dead battery. I mean, all of those kinds of things are just major obstacles, you know, for the women. So we really try to be that for them. And if it's a financial, we have wonderful connections we work with. We have mechanics that help us out. So if something comes up, we tell the women, ask us, let us know, because we normally know someone that can help them. And then we would never, if they can't make the rent that month, we understand that, and then we move on from there.
Okay, you give a lot of support to these women. In what forms? In what form do you give support?
Well, there's the program support, because Erie Dawn isn't just housing, it's really the support, as I said before, that goes with that, from meeting with them. We have emotional support, financial support, socialization for them, the job skills. Every woman is hooked up with a mentor, which gives them an added level of support, and then we promote a lot of activities for the women and their mentors. And also, you know, just us knowing connections we can help with in the community are a big support to them as well, too. And, you know, somebody needed tires, so we got someone to help with tire and AAA memberships, and anything that would be an obstacle for them, you know, being able to get around, get to work, take care of their families. We really try to help them with anything like that that we can.
I see you do like budget coaching.
Oh, yes. Well, because a big part of it is when the women come to us, it's not like they're just going to stay where they're at. We have to keep them moving all the time. And so we help them open up checking accounts, and then we actually, we have finances have been a key part of the program, but we now are implementing a program with budget coaching where we have some volunteers, and they will sit with them and they will actually review they'll go through their pay stubs, they'll go through their spending patterns, their bank accounts, so that they can really get a picture, the women can get a picture of, you know, what's going on in their world day to day, but then how do you plan for the future, and then how do you budget, you know, what comes out of this paycheck, what comes out of the next paycheck, setting them up with online banking, because we don't want them just to be successful when they're in our program, but the whole idea is when you're moving them through it, and out of the nest, as we say, you know, you really want them to have those skills that are really internalized and become a part of their life.
What do you cover under life skills?
Life skills, again, a lot of that can range from time management, it can be from shopping on a budget, cooking meals, cleaning, just, you know, how do you shop on a budget? How do you plan ahead? So anything that you would need to maintain a household, because you can't assume anything. You can't assume anything, even if it's, you know, how to plan to do a load of a wash. You know, some people just have not had the luxury of having someone in their world that has pointed those things out to them. You know, writing a check. We can't assume that because there's many people that they've never had that opportunity before. So life skills is, you know, really anything that they need to and it kind of crosses over a little bit with the job skills as well too, and soft skills, and how to do an interview and how to talk to people, and because all of that, the more of that you have in place, it also reduces the stress in their life, and then that allows them to be, it adds to being happier and more successful and more confidence, and then you really just see them grow from that.
I know you also work with universities and bring in interns. And what do the interns, once they're working in your program, what are some of their duties that you would have them do?
Actually, I know this is time sensitive, but just this week we work with, right now we're working with Gannon University very intensely, where they have had an entire class of occupational therapy students, where last semester they did a major assessment, and now literally this semester we're going to be implementing, they've developed classes on all the different things we've talked about. It would be time management, stress reduction, they're going to be doing some financial classes, cooking, easy meals, 30-minute meals, how to shop on a budget. So we now have the students working with our staff doing those workshops for the women. So every Monday we're going to be having the classes or workshops, or, you know, they're not really classes, we want them to be fun. And so that's just one of the things. In the summer, we're very fortunate to have LECOM students that come, and they're with us. They kind of focus on the health, so we really connect them with any woman that, for the woman or a child that might have a health issue, and they help them, talk about, is it exercise? Is it monitoring their medicine? What questions to ask? Eating healthy? So we're really very fortunate, and it's so wonderful to see the younger people too. I still call college kids young people, being able to get involved in help. They are, and right down to the high schools. We have high school students that they need service hours. They come to us. The one group is going to be. We also have a food bank where we are, and. So they're going to be helping come in and organize the food bank, set it up so when we get our deliveries. So that's going to be something. So rather than just come in for a couple hours, answer the phone, and not feel connected, they're really going to be a part of our program in volunteering. And if some of the families come for the food bank while they're there, they can help with that. So sometimes people think a nonprofit, that there's not a lot of opportunity for college students to be able to actually get in and do service work for them, because they don't understand. Even we had a marketing department at Gannon, did a major presentation for us and helped us come up with a marketing plan. We've worked with all the universities. We've had interns from Mercyhurst in Edinburgh and Penn State Barron. So we've been very fortunate in having. They're a true treasure. They're really a treasure.
And it's a win-win situation, because they are getting hands-on experience of what they're going to be dealing with once they graduate.
Exactly, and it isn't just busy work. I mean, it's really authentic. We bring them along. They sit in on meetings. We help them. They develop programs for us, and so they are really seeing firsthand what some of the issues are that the families face day to day. Now,
you were talking about volunteers. How important are volunteers to your program?
Oh, volunteers are, they're so critical, because, again, our staff is limited. We have a small staff, and they're busy, so stretched with just the day-to-day and, the intake. That takes a lot of time. They're making referrals. They're working with the women, a crisis that come up. So when we have an event, our mentors are probably our strongest volunteers. But above and beyond that, now we're looking for volunteers to help maybe pick up the orders from the food bank, bring them to our offices, and then we can do the setup from there. Anytime we have an event, we're very dependent on volunteers to help with that, to get people to come, to do the registration, to help with setup. And we have movers. We need help with moving, because if someone calls and said, oh, we have a couch or we have furniture for you, well, we don't have the capability without the getting volunteers to help us move, so we can then provide for the apartment. So volunteers, and we also have at different levels. We have volunteers at different levels. And we also have, like at Christmas time, there's a senior helper, Santa helper. And they kind of volunteer behind the scenes because they're making toys for us. So at every level, we're really, really appreciate the volunteers, because they just are treasures for us.
You're talking about mentors. Tell me what a mentor would do.
A mentor would be, we kind of look at the woman coming into the program, and then we look at the different people that have had an interest in being a mentor, and we try to find the best fit. And we don't want them to get involved with the day-to-day that we are. We want it to be the level of a friendship, and so they can. We have zoo memberships, so we encourage them, like, take a walk, go to the zoo, read a book together. So it's just it's a friend. It's really a friend and someone that they can trust. And we work with the mentors. We probably every month we bring them in and we talk to them, because sometimes it takes the women in our program a little bit of time to trust someone too. So we have to really, talk to them about, don't take it personally, this might take a while, but you're really developing a friendship that in many cases has lasted for years.
Okay. So you work with the mentors before
the match.
Before the match. Yes. Okay. Now, what is your ultimate goal? With the ultimate goal of Erie Dawn? In a perfect world, how's it going to end?
In the perfect world, it's the women move through our program, They get their confidence back, they get their finances in order, they have a job that they are able to maintain a day-to-day existence and a living wage. They have a nice apartment, and they're just functioning and contributing and actually coming back and volunteering for our program, and to be a mentor is our ultimate goal, which has actually happened in some cases. So that's the ultimate full circle.
Maureen, you do. Erie Dawn does a fantastic job. I know. I mean, I even know one of the mentors, and I know some of the success stories. You guys work very, very hard. And you do realize your goals with these women. You really do.
And we have been very privileged to be able to see that, because people say, well, maybe things go okay when they're in their program, but then what? But we have 5, 10, 15, 20 years later. Actually, we have a fundraiser coming up, and one of our graduates is our main sponsor for the event. So I mean, talk about full circle, and feeling like a proud mother, something like that. But that's the ultimate goal. That's an extreme success, and we have other amazing successes, and where the women have come back and they talk with our women, they mentor them, and they still stay connected with us. And so that really is our ultimate goal, is just to see the women blossom and reach their potential and feel good about themselves.
And what do you think the key ingredient is to being successful in your program?
That's a really good question. And sometimes it isn't something you see right away. It's almost something when you look back, or you talk to the women that graduated, or you hear them say thank you. It's really the grit. It's just that grit that the women, no matter what their circumstances were, and they had the resiliency and the grit to overcome it and not be a victim. They didn't blame other people. They said, okay, here's where I'm at. How can I move forward? And they just were in gratitude, and having an attitude of gratitude, being grateful, for everything they get along the way. And those people, when we talk to them later, the key ingredient is, you could really narrow it down to grit and gratitude, really.
Okay. And they're determined.
Yes.
And with that grit and gratitude and determination, partnering with you, it's all gonna turn out for them. It really will. So we're coming to the end, but what I want to talk about briefly is how you're funded.
Our funding is, we do get a partial funding from HUD because we do provide the housing. We get a grant from Drug and Alcohol, and but most of it is, we really are at the kindness of strangers, and it's donations, and some straight out donations, and then the other is fundraising. But fundraising is challenging because with such a small staff, you don't have the time to do that properly, but we have we usually have a big one every year. This year it's May, Changing Seasons, Changing Lives. We're really going to focus on our 20 years, and we're also going to focus on our graduates and let them tell the stories. We're going to continue to work with our local artists that we've worked with in the past, and we're going to have a silent auction of amazing birdhouses and that are going to be auctioned off. So that's our one big fundraiser, and then we're thinking about doing a golf outing this year as well too, because it keeps you, it's just something we have to do all the time to bring in that funding. But it really, our donations that show up at our doorstep every day are really at the kindness of strangers, and we couldn't do it without them.
And if the viewers want to volunteer or donate, what number should they call? How can they get a hold of you?
Check out our website, www.eriedawn.org, and then 453-5921 is our phone number, and we'd love to have the opportunity to talk to anyone or answer questions or come and speak to any groups, and we're just always pleased to get our story out.
Maureen, thank you so much for joining us on the program. We could sit here and we could talk forever about this. Viewers, if you have any questions, please give Maureen a phone call. Thank you for tuning into the Millcreek Government Channel. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.